Hey guys, it is episode 5 of The Strain called Madness, and that means we are halfway through the season.
And we've been renewed for one more season! I'm happy because that means we're guaranteed an ending.
They can wrap it up nicely. That is what they really wanted when they started the series, was 4 seasons. So, you know, they have a plan and they are working towards their goal.
So this episode, we fast forward 7 days.
And in a series that has taken 3 years to go 3 weeks, that's a long freaking time.
And so there have been signs of the infection all over the world. My favorite part was it was just like, yes, China bombs an entire city, but the infection's still spreading. You made a really good point. Why aren't people just getting on boats? And just isolating themselves out in the ocean.
Not even that, but people are like, we need to escape Manhattan. There is water, you may swim. Or take your couch and build a raft. And go. I highly doubt they have harbor patrols going around wasting resources. And even if they did, people would still get through, so I don't see why they're not.
The problem is that a lot of the safe zones are all of a sudden getting breached and they don't understand why, and so Fett goes on an adventure which made us really uncomfortable. The episode opens with him tagging 2 vampires to track them, and it's just ever since the series has started, his fighting style has been a crowbar, and he just gets right in there, and I'm just oh my god, contamination. There was that one fight in I think season 2 where someone's really up close and dirty with the Strigoi, and the Strigoi just starts leaking worms.
He goes on this little adventure. You even encounter Strigoi dressed up as construction workers.
They're getting smarter.
Progressively, just exponentially, up the IQ scale. And so yeah, they're digging their own tunnels into the safe zones. That fights off the construction worker Strigoi and follows them through this narrow, fear-inducing little tunnel and comes across this massive hive of thousands of Strigoi all under Central Park.
Is it bad that I think it's kind of cute how they sleep as one big they're
cuddling for
they right in and you hear them kind of clicking in their sleep, dreaming about draining just
the entire world.
And so there are thousands of them, and it's just I can bet Fett is just I wish I had 60 silver grenades that I could just,
This is prime location for a ginormous bomb because it is terrifying what they could do en masse.
Eph and Dutch at the beginning of the episode are just playing chess at night, and I'm what are you doing?
And they're okay with it. They're just oh, look, Strigoi. Pop, pop.
They're looking for test subjects, and I'm okay, fine, but still.
There are better ways to do this, guys.
And so they're playing around, F is figure it out. It's to run a Strigoi, you only need 3 things. You need the brain, you need the spine, and you need the stinger. And so he's poking away at it, and he opens up a Strigoi brain, and he's going on about how this brain is so degenerated that it couldn't control a person, and he's digging around and he finds just this mass, a ball of pulsing worms, just the size of a golf ball almost, buried inside.
Kind of looks like an elastic ball.
And so Dutch is oh, that's cool, kind of gross, but would you like some coffee? And so she turns on the microwave, and the Strigoi worms start freaking the hell out. It's oh wow, maybe we can use microwaves to incapacitate them, shut down the network, and so then they'll all go crazy again.
So they're going on doing these tests, and the mayor comes in, she's do this faster. I need results. So okay, fine. Let's do some more field tests. So they put a Strigoi in a cage, and they're here's some blood. You have to use a crowbar to get the blood. And I actually starts picking the lock on the cage.
It was so messed up.
Why is this not alarming you?
Turn the ray on, and so they turn the ray on, and it its IQ just drops exponentially, and they're oh, it's almost kind of cute, and the Strigoi's just eh? Oh shit, right, I was doing something, and starts picking the lock again. And F's just oh, it's not fun.
This is not alarming at all until it gets the cage open, and then they're oh shit, we should shoot it. I really want to know why their jammer ray didn't work. Do you think I think it's actually going to be useful, but they have to figure out why it didn't work.
I think part of the problem though is they've also talked about how the creatures themselves are evolving. They don't necessarily need the masters guiding.
I don't know, I think they kind of do. I feel like...
Well, they're more capable of doing, they're more capable of having their own kind of higher thought. okay, so it's picking the lock, and then the thing, like the master says, pick the lock. And it's like, okay, I'll pick the lock. Then the microwave goes off, and it's like, well, if I was picking this lock, like, you know, like...
Yeah, so I'm just
If I keep doing that, I will get the bowl of blood that I want. It's more like, okay, so you're giving them free will?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they're just so smart that maybe it just figures out, okay, this frequency isn't working, let's change the channel. Oh, this one's working. Gotcha.
Okay, so hypothetically the microwave ray would have been awesome, like, day 4, when they're still, like,
oh, yeah, sure.
kind of useless, and now, like, we have a Lord of the Flies situation with vampires, like, becoming vampire chain gangs.
We were both, like, looking on in fear as Dutch and Eph were sitting on the stairs sharing a bottle of alcohol. Eph is like, hey, you know, I like it when things go well because then I can shut off the dark things that my mind tends to go to. And Kesh is like, well, we're gonna have to, find you nicer things to think about then. We're like,
and by the way, I'm not going back to Fett.
And we're like, do not sleep together, do not sleep together, do not sleep together.
SETRAKIAN's hanging out with Quinlan, and they're trying to translate pages of the Lumen, and Quinlan's just like, being the annoying study partner who's just like, I'm reading things about this, and I'm reading this, and like, SETRAKIAN's just like, what's the point? What's the point, Mr. Quinlan? And Quinlan's just like, hey, if we looked at the actual book, I think this would be more useful. Like, this is ridiculous. I'm not letting you touch that book again. And he's like, come on, I'm not gonna steal it. My plan didn't work. Okay, let's do this your way. And so he pulls out the book and he kind of gets a flashback and he's thinking about his time in Amsterdam, and I'm like, oh my god, it's gonna be the guy who he like mentions in episode 2, dropped in like the Baltic Sea.
So Quinlan and SETRAKIAN kind of have this light bulb moment where SETRAKIAN's like, hey, we're going on a field trip, and he takes out the Lumen and he goes upstairs into the sunlight. Quinlan can't go in the sunlight, apparently, and is just like, look, you hold it up to the light, it tells you how to defeat the master. Shit, this is smart, because now none of the Strigoi can ever figure this out because they can't go in the sun.
And it's talking about a coffin that is like lined in silver, and that there was a master that was captured in Egypt, like thousands of people like cornered it, captured it, they put it in this coffin. It was, the silver stopped the master from being able to control his minions, and so they were able to like defeat him. And so it's just like, oh, I kinda did a similar thing to this other guy, and we're getting this flashback to this guy Kruger who he chopped up and stuffed in a trunk.
It's really cool because, you know, it's actually like a flashback, so you're getting this story throughout the episode where you've got young SETRAKIAN again. He's in Amsterdam, and I think he's trying to flush out Eichorst, and so he's pretending that he's got a copy of the Lumen, and he goes through this woman who runs a brothel, and he ends up coming across a German Nazi who was in the war and worked in concentration camps, but it turns out to not be Eichorst, it's just his buddy, who is also running around as a serial killer.
And the point that it's trying to make is during the previous scene when Quinlan's talking about so many of these vampire hunters, they're kind of crazy. Like, they're maniacs. They, like, go at this alone and they do all this stuff. When SETRAKIAN is kind of like, this was the closest I came to going crazy. Like, this was the closest I've come to madness. Chopping up this guy and throwing him in this trunk and throwing the trunk into the ocean. Like, that's like a deranged path that I took, and thank God I came back from it. And Quinlan's like, hey, you know, sometimes good things do come from madness.
You almost had the solution there.
Yeah, and Palmer. Palmer has been replaced by Eichorst by a newer, younger, better running model of like a young mogul. It's like, I'm bringing my new boyfriend to show you.
We can all be friends, right?
We just need you to get this boat into port. Yes, this boat that is coming and has left Egypt 30 days ago, and it's like, okay, so they dug up the other master, clearly, and it's like, it's been a pleasure doing business with you. What do you mean? Oh, just for this transaction. You're doomed, bud. You're doomed.
SETRAKIAN makes a deal with Eldritch, and he's like, listen, I need to know where the master has reincarnated, and you need the white, so I will give you a dose of the white. It'll last you a good enough time, and, you're gonna figure out what the master's body is. Can you do that? And Eldritch is like, yeah, well, they need me still because, you know, if they didn't, I'd be dead.
And so I'm really hoping that Palmer is smart and fakes to be still ill, because Eichorst is not an idiot. If Palmer's just like, oh, yippee-doo, look at me, I can dance again. Woo-hoo-hoo. He's gonna be like, oh, Eldritch, what have you done?
Yeah. I'm really hoping that Eldritch decides to burn that ship and send it to the bottom of the ocean.
Same. My favorite point of the episode was when Palmer passed out and Eichorst is just like, nurse.
Does not even think about getting up. It's just like,
And the nurse is
somebody
like,
deal
can
with this."
somebody help me? And that woman does not realize just how dangerous Eichorst is. And Eichorst is just like, this woman does not realize how dangerous I am.
The new boyfriend gets up and like helps him. He's like, I guess that's me then? You're really not gonna get up?
Nope.
But yeah, so all in all, decent episode. Fun times to be had. Setting up for the second half of the season.
Yes. Definitely had the feeling of like a mid-season finale. The stakes are raised.
Tell us what you thought of the episode. What do you think's gonna happen in the second part of the season?
How doomed are we?
Oh god, we're so fucked. So fucked. That's the thing. Right, bye guys.